Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special NieR Automata themed one-shot. Since I'm pretty sure nobody out there knows the system we're playing, we're actually using a role-playing system of my own design entitled NieR Ugaku. And I fully expect my players to break it within a few rolls, but hey, that's half the fun. All you really need to know as a viewer is that it is a D12 dice pool system. Low numbers are very good, and 12s are bad. You actually don't want to see 12s at all. And everything is based on a number of successes, which should be handled by the Roll20 macros you'll see us using. The other thing I have to say up front is that this one shot may contain spoilers for NieR Automata and Final Fantasy XIV. The latter specifically relates to the NieR raids in Shadowbringers, so if you've already played through those, you should be fine, and even if you haven't, I won't be spoiling anything major, but let's just say that there is one secret boss encounter that my players might find today, and you'll know it when you see it. But enough about all that. Let's hear from my two players. I'm super happy to have them both, but why don't we start with you, Kongo? Anything you want to shout out to the viewers? Anything you want to tell us about your character?
Greetings, everyone, and nothing in particular. I'll tell about them when we start playing. It's a relatively straightforward thing. I do prefer in medium res development.
Alrighty. What about you, son? Anything you'd like to add?
Again, yeah, just about the same. Yeah, I'll describe the character once we get into it, and I'm excited to try a new system. This is my I'm playing anything other than 5th Ed in a few years, so should be fun.
Cool.
Yes, 5th edition did basically take over the market for a few years.
I mean, it's the
Hey,
major one
It's
going on right
D&D.
now.
Not only
it's a nice
not only
system,
that,
nice
they
and
had an
smooth.
explosion in popularity. D&D has never been more popular than it has been now.
Very
And
That's
so
true.
right, now you're a
5th
hip
edition
kid
is the
if you play
one.
the Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. That's just how it goes.
Well, one thing I'll say before we start the opening narration is that if you're ever confused about the black and white icons you see on screen, basically the white icons are meta currency I can spend to mess with the players. The black icons or drive are what the players can use to mess with me, sort of. It'll make more sense when we start playing. But yeah, I think that's enough stalling. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, of course, stream. I did do a little bit of sound balancing before the stream and in the past, but do let us know if the music is too loud, too soft, just right, etc., etc. So let me get the ambience going, and we're going to switch to this scene. So, our tale begins on a space station floating high above the blue sphere we know as Earth. It is called the Bunker and has only just recently entered operational status. The androids underneath the Yorha organization are using it as a staging grounds as they attempt to take care of and eliminate the machine threat that has taken over Earth. And currently looking out of one of the windows in the bunker towards Earth is a Yorha Type A model. And Kongo, I believe this is your show now. So tell us a little bit about the character, appearance-wise, weapon-wise, anything you think is prudent.
Certainly. So, looking out the window of the space station of the bunker is a unit with long bushy hair and two hand axes, one hand axe at either side. He is looking at the earth down below, not particularly interested. A thought springs to his mind as he looks down. On the moon's surface, there is nothing but silence. A beautiful sound. Oh, not bad myself. And that's what he's thinking about currently.
I love it. I love it. So, as you're sort of staring out of the window, another android walks up to you. And this one is Sun's character. So, Sun, why don't you tell us a little bit about 7D? Players are a little bit quiet. Let me boost
Well,
them.
A 7D is a defender type model. They're fairly solidly built for defense. They're not one to talk very much, and going down the hallway, they're not sure about this new assignment they might be getting. And see someone off in the distance, I assume.
Yep, you do
And
see
stops
A1
to
looking out the window.
just pauses a moment to, observe him. They're trained mostly to look out for threats, of course, and there shouldn't be a threat here in the bunker, but it's good to assess every new person you come across.
What are you looking at? Or are you looking at nothing at all? He says without
Well,
turning around.
looking at you, is there a problem?
No, there isn't. Feel free to look as much as you'd like.
And yeah, I think there's literally a moment of
Well,
just silence as you stare at each other. And it's right about then that something clicks for you all. You realize that you two are actually partners on the next mission. I mean, you knew general details about each other, but this is your first time actually meeting in person.
Incoming transmission.
Also, thank you for the sub, Sylvie Silkvine. Thank you for the follow. Thank you.
So it seems we'll be working together. I'm warning you, it's quite common for the people around me to die. But you do seem sturdier than the rest.
Well, typically, it's my job to make sure that the people around me don't die. I think we'll be fine.
If you say so.
And so, what details have we been given of the mission so far?
Absolutely nothing. You were just told to find your partner and bring him to the control room.
Shall we head on then? There's only
Yes.
so much one can appreciate this scenery.
Yes, I suppose we have an appointment. Let's not waste time.
All right.
Right. So I suppose we just head over to the command room.
You do, yes. And one thing I should say about the bunker, for those who don't know, is that it's sort of set up like a giant spinning torus, which means that the outer ring rotates and provides gravity for the androids inside. So what happens is both A1 and 7D walk down the corridor, and as they do, they begin to just slope up and up and up, and eventually you all arrive in the control room of the bunker. Now, the control room itself is a multi-layered affair. There are 3 levels to it. The main one, or where most of the action occurs, is filled with androids of all variety that sort of sit at stations that are ahead of very large view screens that display both the Yorha logo and various tactical readouts of many different missions that are occurring all over the globe. Your target is Commander White. Now, Commander White is a fairly imposing android. She has golden hair, white outfit, and is generally the type of commander that will chew you out, but in a good way, if that makes any sense. And the moment you all walk in, even without turning around, Commander White says, "Took you all long enough? Come here, let's get this show on the road."
We'll approach respectfully.
And as you do so, she points at one of the view screens, and appearing on the main view screen in place of the Yorha logo is a map of the island chains of Hawaii. And she points at it and says, "A1, 7D, your mission is going to be to handle 3 very high priority targets. They are all located within this island chain, and I will highlight them in order of importance. And the first sort of thing that she highlights is the island of Molokai. And I apologize in advance if I'm butchering these names. But she highlights the island of Molokai and says, "We have a rogue H-type here, 10H. We need you to eliminate the android with extreme prejudice. It's recommended that you don't even let them talk."
Is there anything we need to know about this target?
Well, you should know that as an H-type, she is rather adept at healing herself. But I'm afraid most of the information means that I'm unable to tell you outright. I hope you understand operational security and all that, but you'll get a general feel for things once you encounter the android. Also, you guys get another drive. Thank you for the point redeem,
Right.
chat. But the commander looks between 7D and A1, seeing if there's any other questions before she moves on. All right. Hearing none, she moves on to the next island. She highlights the island of Maui now and says, "This one is almost as important, but can wait at least a little bit. We have a Yorha facility that has crash landed here, and we must destroy the facility before the machines claim it. Should be fairly simple. The reactor should still be hot. You should be able to cause a meltdown and get out before things explode." Again, sort of waiting to see if there's any questions.
And so far?
All right. And then finally, she highlights the island of Oahu, or Ohu. I never remember how to say it correctly. But anyway,
Wahoo.
there you go. There you go. That's what I mean to say. Oahu. But she highlights the island and says,
Pardon, just a moment. I realized
Go
that my microphone was muted for the past few minutes.
"Oh, well, that would explain a lot."
I was wondering.
So, let me quickly comment on these two, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
So, another execution mission and blowing up a base. These are relatively straightforward. Have you ever done either of these before, 7D?
I've been assigned to stuff like this before, actually.
I mean, that's your call, so.
Hmm.
How fresh do you
well,
want to play yourself?
So I haven't been on many of these really targeted missions, but I think I can handle that.
You do seem rather robust.
I'll take that as a compliment.
That's the only way you should take it. There is no reason to talk about other people in any other context.
Commander White just sort of looks between the two of you and says, "Well, I can see you're going to get along swimmingly." And as that little bit of sarcasm fades, she points at the island again, and specifically, the view screen zooms in to what used to be the Pearl Harbor Naval Base. And she explains quite clearly, this one is a little bit more obtuse, which should be more your alley, A1. We have sightings of a red-haired android working with the machines here at their forward base. We want you to investigate and figure out not only why the android is working with the machines, but, if possible, you have full discretion whether to capture or kill based on that information.
You know what's easier, Commander White? It's not... If you don't tell me to let them live, it's just easier, isn't it?
Your track record does suggest that you do enjoy the killing. I think you're best suited for this mission in a myriad of different reasons, but let's just say if you do manage to bring them back alive, there's some form of a reward for you.
Oh, now that's different. Killing is often the easiest option, but I am capable of other things. Let's decide once we reach Hawaii 70.
Certainly. And, Commander, if I might have a moment.
Alone or...
No, here is fine. I don't need to ask my concerns. And sort of looks kind of pointedly at A1. I was under the impression that these A-type models were no longer in full service.
And she actually cracks a grin and says, "You'd be right. Majority of them have been disretired from service. Disretired, that's a word. Have been retired from service. But A1 here is, shall we say, indispensable for many reasons."
Well, I suppose I will see the measure of his worth then.
It's
Indeed.
simple enough, 70. When I'm no longer useful, I will be as detritus. Or rather, fortunately for me, I am quite useful.
Well then, I look forward to it.
Commander White just sort of crosses her arms again, and the island display disappears, going back to that main Yorha logo. And she simply states, "You have your orders, get to it. You have operational discretion to tackle them in any order you wish, of course, but I would recommend perhaps handling 10H first."
Understood, Commander.
Usual. It should be a swift and eventless mission.
All right. Real quick before we change scenes, Kongo, could you boost yourself, your mic volume by like 1 or 2 decibels? Because I've got you at 200% right now, and people are still saying you're quiet.
I'm also at maximum input volume. Should I just
All
move
right.
it closer to myself, you think?
Maybe just a little bit, yeah.
There we are.
Yep, that's looking better. That's looking much better. Cool. All right. So, I'm just going to put us back on the space bunker map for now. And I would like to know, where would you guys like to begin? As you all are sort of walking from the control room to the launch bay, where you will be receiving your flight units, which will take you down to the planet.
Seems
Are
you've
you
had
ask-
your...
Go for it. Sorry.
So you've had your fair share of these. Which do you think would be the most critical target?
We should start with the highest priority target and work our way down. The other two can't really move, but a rogue android, well, if you let them flee, the chase is quite a nuisance.
That does feel apt. A threat that we cannot pin down would be the most concerning, so let's find this 10H.
Yes, let's lop her head off. Nice and quickly. Alright then.
Mm-hmm. So, when you enter into the hangar bay, what you see are rows upon rows of flight units. And these flight units are essentially, for those who don't know what they look like, they're sort of scaled down mecha support frames that allow the android to remain upright as they're sort of almost, I hesitate to say like Gundam-esque, but they do have various weaponry which would fit the Gundam aesthetic. They have laser blasters, they've got energy swords, it's a whole thing. But what's relevant for this one shot is that they're going to get the lovely androids from point A to point B. And as you enter into each of your flight units, the metallic sort of holding clamps come over the front of your body, holding you inside. And a conveyor belt brings you out from the rows of the flight units and angles you down so that you're lying parallel with the floor. And then the engines begin to charge, making a loud sort of roaring noise as both of you launch out of the launch bay towards the earth below. Now, of course, as androids, you don't really need to breathe, so that's why you're able to just go out in empty space without issue. But as you approach the blue planet of Earth below, what you notice is that the flight units aren't taking a direct route. They're taking sort of a swerving, if almost circuitous route towards Hawaii. And if either of you would like to see why they're doing that, we could have our first roll of the game, or we can save the first roll of the game for when you actually land. Entirely up to you all.
Of course we'll take that, won't we? Do you want
Yes,
do you
I'm
want
curious.
both of us to do it?
Well, yeah, let's have both of you do it. This would probably be a study and a probably either a strategically or methodically. I'd let you use either here. And the difficulty on this is just a 1. Which means you just need the 1 success. Well, there's Kongo getting A1 with 5 successes, so that's pretty good.
It's all right, you know. It's nothing notable.
Well, actually it is, because it's a difficulty of
very
1.
notable.
Yeah, I was saying, 'cause it's a difficulty of 1, and the way this works is if you get more successes than is required, you can actually gain drive this way. So, since you've scored 4 successes more than you needed, and you've rolled a 1, you actually get a grand total of 2 drive from that.
Very good. I'll take that. Why not?
And then 7D, you didn't roll a 1, so you don't get any drive, but you also succeeded. So what you both know is that the reason it's taking a circuitous route, one that is not direct, is because, for lack of a better term, Yorha is trying to mask your signal as you approach Earth. You know that the machines are very capable and very willing to shoot down flight units if they detect them. So this is sort of a way to keep your approach, quote-unquote, stealth-like.
It's always a nuisance that this takes longer, but better than falling down to Earth without your flight unit. Now is it?
It's best that we're using this caution so we know what we're facing.
It's right about then that over your internal communications network, you get a chime, and sort of appearing on your HUD is a operator model. And she says, "This is operator 7-0 to androids A1 and 7D. Come in."
Present and
7D
accounted
reporting
for.
in.
Good. Communications are working. We were having issues earlier. Once you've arrived at the island of Molokai, you are to leave your flight units behind on the beach and proceed inwards. We have knowledge that the target is somewhere near Papahaku Beach, somewhere in a radius of about 2 to 3 miles. So good luck with that.
Understood.
Understood.
And of course, the operator just sort of turns off because apparently your HUD doesn't do phone etiquette. But at this point, you all have entered into the atmosphere. There's a little bit of heat as you enter into the sort of cloud layer. And as you breach through said cloud layer, you end up seeing the island chain of Hawaii in the distance. However, what I would say at this point is I have 2 complications thanks to the viewers that I have to deal with. So let's deal with the first one.
All right.
The first one is that the moment you guys break the cloud layer a massive red beam fires out from the largest island of Hawaii towards you all. And I need you both to roll me a move and either a skillfully or a quickly here. And this will represent you dodging as I switch us over to some combat music.
All right, as a combat roll.
Would that be a combat roll?
It would be a normal roll for this one. Combat is when you're actually like fighting like on the ground.
So
Okay.
I'll use move strategically. I believe that's what you said. Or what, is it skill? What are your choices again for the action?
Skillfully
Say
and
quick or
quickly.
skillful.
Yeah.
All right, skillfully or quickly? I don't mind doing that.
All right, well that's 8 successes from Kongo. So actually that's a very important roll for several reasons, which we'll get into in a moment. And then how does 7D do? Oh, she rolled above, so 2 successes. All right, well, it is at this point that I do get to roll here. And I get to cheat a little bit because I'm the GM. So let's see, hopefully I did this correctly. Yes, it's working. Okay, number 6 successes. So what's going to happen is 7D, you sort of jerk to the right, trying to barrel roll out of the way of this blast. But part of the laser clips your left wing and sends you into a spiral down, almost uncontrollably down to the waves below. Now, A1, you've succeeded here, but you have what is known as a messy critical. That is because you have rolled both 1s and 2 12s. So what this means is not only are you going to be getting drive for this, which I believe your cap is at 6 for this, so you are at cap of 6, but what this means is you have a complication, and that is basically a negative effect to your success. So I'm going to say this just moving forward through the one-shot. If you all have a good idea for a negative effect, I'm all for it. But if you don't have any ideas, I can do the negative effect as well. So would you like to cover the negative effect in this instance, or should I?
What should the scale of it be?
It can be variable. It's honestly one of those things where if you, the player, want to introduce a hard complication to yourself, I'm all for it.
I'll leave this first one to you, just as an example.
Very good. So what I'm going to say then is, as you skillfully sort of swerve out of the way of this incoming laser fire, you too are clipped. Your flight unit is clipped by the laser blasts. Now, the difference here is that you are still able to control your flight unit quite well, but somehow your fuel cell has been breached, meaning that you have maybe about 2 or 3 minutes of operational time before your flight unit goes kaput, and you're still several clicks out from the islands.
Oh, troublesome. But this is not something impossible for me. So, how do I say this? What A1 does is just boost as fast as possible straight toward the surface. And his intent is that he will just do a straight fall for the rest of the way. What he's using the flight unit for is simply re-entry.
Got it. 7D, since you are missing your left wing, do you wish to call for help? Do you wish to try and figure out how to steer your flight unit without the left wing? What's the play for 7D?
Well, first would be if we have any sort of manual control we can try and pull that to right myself first.
And you do have the ability to take control manually. This would simply be a tinker and a quickly roll, because you're obviously trying to do it very quickly. And you only need 2 successes on this one.
Are you able to pull it off?
Yeah.
You get the 2 you
Just
need.
barely.
Nice.
Just barely. So yeah, what happens, 7D, is as you sort of override or provide your command codes to the flight unit, it quickly rights itself, and you have now better control over the unit. However, you are still sort of careening towards the waves below and not your target island.
So what I'm probably going to try and do is just recorrect to the closest safe landing spot, regardless of where it is.
All right. So it's at this point that I need one more move skillfully or move quickly roll from the both of you, and then we'll see if you land carefully or not.
No issue.
And you can thank chat for turning you into fireballs. I'm just gonna throw that out there. That was all chat.
Oh, thank you, chat. Appreciate it.
And A1 got another interesting complication. So let's see how well the Goliath does. Let's see. All right, so I think I know exactly how to play this out. So as you guys streak through the sky, trailing smoke and fire, you get over the target island of Malachi, or Malaki, or you know what I'm meaning. You get over the island, and another laser blast fires out, and this time, 7D, your flight unit is turned into a flaming fireball. Like, all of it is on fire. You yourself don't take any damage, but you're falling very rapidly at this point. A1, you succeed to and dodge once again, but same thing. Would you like me to do the complication here, or would you like to?
Feel free to destroy the flight unit, because obviously at this point, it might as well be destroyed.
Fair enough. So I think both of you then are more or less careening towards a white sand beach that is amid very high sea cliffs and what is essentially a tropical rainforest or something there close to it. And as you get closer and closer to the ground, do you want to say or do anything before you hit the ground?
Probably going to try to eject before actual impact.
So as the flight unit's destroyed, A1 does eject as well, but this is normal for him. This happens literally every time. Imagine landing properly with a flight unit.
How many company cars have you gone through?
He doesn't care. He's not paying for them, son.
Well, what I'm going to say then is, because you of course have to do it in a badass fashion even when you fail, both of you eject from your flight units. They go soaring past the beach into the oceans where they detonate, and both of you land on the white sand beach and have made safe contact with the ground because androids don't take fall damage. But as you sort of get up, inspect your surroundings, what you see is actually something akin to a village or town out of time. If you look past the trees of the beach, you see that the dunes give way to actual dirt and actual buildings that have been overgrown with all manner of ivy, greenery, moss, whatever you can think of that nature can provide. It has more or less retaken root, as it were. Hey, there was a pun. Nice. The other thing you're seeing is burned out husks of vehicles. You're seeing cars, buses, what might have been a road at one point. And aside from the sudden noise that happened when your flight units detonated, this place is quiet. No birds, no wildlife, just quiet.
Whenever you look down on Earth from above, it's always so blue. But when you're on the surface, it's green. That does bother me somewhat.
Well, I mean, that has to do with the atmosphere, doesn't it?
It does, but what if it just didn't have color? What if it was just like the moon?
Well, then be as much of a place worth defending.
Well said. Now let's hack this 10H's head off.
Before we move, is there a way to get confirmation that we landed near at least our intended target space?
There is actually. As you consult your internal GPS unit, because I don't know the actual name for the widget that's inside every Android because they don't give you the name for it, you can confirm you are on your target island. However, when you try to communicate back up to the bunker, what happens is you get a signal like this. And yes, I'm going to intentionally cut in and out, so don't freak out. Operate to A17D, A1D, beside down. You hear us? Hello? Oh.
Going to try and ping back a bunker. This is 7D. Can you hear us?
No reply.
Oh, this is the best 70. Do you know what this means?
What, pray tell, does it mean?
Because they cannot tell us to do anything, this mission is now under our directive. Anything goes, 70.
You have an optimistic way of looking at things.
As long as you don't die, you'll eventually succeed. Keep this in mind.
Alright, going to start walking ahead to survey the area.
Alrighty. So, why don't you go ahead and give me a study, either strategically or methodically here. I'll allow either. And the difficulty on this is going to be a 3, because you are looking for signs of 10H. And what I would say is that while both of you can roll, just keep in mind that if you guys roll more complications, both of you will be affected by them. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Do you want me to leave it up to you, son?
Well, I
What's
mean,
your study at?
Looks like they
My
did,
study is 8.
Alright, so it is higher than mine, though mine is very reliable, so I might as well do mine as well.
Alright. Let's see. I see
So
5
study-
successes from 7D.
Very nice. Study skillfully, that's allowed, right?
I'll give you skill.
strategically.
Based on your skill set, I could give you skillfully.
There we are.
All right, and only 112, so not a critical failure or a critical complication. So both of you are looking around, observing the husks of the buildings, and what you're noticing about the buildings themselves is that there's gaps in between them. And I don't just mean like there were streets in between the buildings or alleyways. It's almost as if there used to be more buildings here. And as you sort of scan the area, what you're coming to realize is that the only buildings that have remained standing, at least in some aspect, are the stone buildings, the ones made out of concrete, out of steel, out of plastic, the things that don't biodegrade all that well. Whereas the missing gaps between the buildings, your best guess is they were probably some form of a hut, wood, something that actually nature could reclaim. But relevant to 10H, you are able to find a broken arm, an android arm, that is inside one of the burned out buildings. This structure must have been a parking garage at one point because it's multi-tiered, sort of has a ramp that goes between the levels. And when you find this arm, there's several important things I need to tell you about it. The first is that it is a male-type arm, which is important because, well, for those who don't know, most androids of Yorha are female. That means A1 is kind of one of the exceptions, as it were. The other thing I would say is that this arm is massive. Now, I'm not just talking like, the android's been working out massive. I mean, this is almost the size of a grapefruit around. So it's big.
And it definitely looks like a Yorha make.
It does, yes.
An interesting
Eh.
arm. What do you think?
Are you familiar?
Ah,
I'm uncertain.
then let me recall from the depths of my memories. Does A1 know what this is?
Well, let's introduce a mechanic here for the viewers to know. If you give me 2 of your drive, I would say yes, you can make the narrative declaration that you do know what this arm is.
A1 is one of the oldest units after all, so I'll go ahead and spend that. Do you mind, son?
Go ahead.
So how do I spend this?
So what you'll do is you'll click that little icon of the dice or the drive themselves,
Yes.
and then you're going to drag those icons onto the map, and then you'll click them and hit
There we
literally
are.
the delete key on your keyboard.
Ah, so you want me to delete them, yes. There we
Yep.
are.
You got it. So yeah, A1, you know exactly what this arm is. It is actually a prototype of the A model, your own model. Specifically, it didn't really have a name to it at the time, but this is a predecessor unit compared to you. So this is almost ancient, if you will. This is easily decades old.
You wouldn't know, 70. I am the current oldest active unit on the bunker, aside from maybe Commander White herself. This is the arm of one of my predecessors, when the human form was not considered a requirement.
How old is this unit?
Not quite a century, but several decades old, 70.
And the arm itself, does it look like it's something that was recently damaged or just has been sitting there?
Definitely recently damaged, because when you go to check the data in the arm or you check the actual actuators and other parts of the arm, they look almost brand new.
Oh, what answer do you take from this question, 70?
Well, it would seem to me perhaps there are units out here that are no longer on record, but perhaps still operational, or were operational. Are you certain there are no more of your make that are still on missions?
Now, these are ancient. The bunker should have access to none of them, meaning that if there are any here, they are being produced. 70.
By whom?
By whom indeed? The machines, I'd imagine.
And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to spend some of my meta currency to make it so that there is a sudden loud clang sound that reverberates through the parking structure as you surround this arm. And as you probably immediately look up or otherwise sense what the source of the sound is, you realize that outside of the parking structure, so if you were to go to the street side and look down, what you're seeing is several medium-sized bipeds, machine forms, that are, interestingly, fighting each other. You don't really know why they're fighting each other, but as far as you're able to tell, they are almost like slug matching each other, where they almost comically rear back, sort of twirl their fist, and then slam it into the other's chest, and then the other one does the exact same thing, and it's almost like a rock'em sock'em robot, if you will, where they're just continually doing this for whatever reason.
What are they
Anything to
doing?
entertain. Anything to entertain themselves, I suppose. Machines look all the time, very often, for the meaning of their existence. And this seems to be their attempt at an answer, 70.
With this rudimentary, pointless combat.
Indeed.
So that their minds are fairly simple, but even these. Why would they develop such an algorithm?
Thinking about what machines think is meaningless. We are not machines, 70. We are different from them. We can only consider them as animals.
I suppose it's best that they are occupied with their own pursuits there.
And because I
Oh,
actually have 1 point of risk remaining, I'm going to spend it. That there's another sound coming from up the street. And when you look, you see that now are several small little flyer units that are basically big propeller blades on top or below a small conical, or not conical, cylindrical body with the round head. These are definitely your standard flight units. But as these small flyers sort of soar through the area, one of them passes extremely close to you all. And I'm going to roll something here, and we'll see if they notice you. All right, so they don't have that, don't have that. Ignore what it says about combat. With 0, they rolled 2 12s. Nice. Good job, machines. I think what's going to happen then is the small flyer that gets close to you actually veers a little too close to the building, slamming into it right beneath you and damaging itself, causing it to go careening into one of the medium bipeds. And the biped sort of reels back and turns to look at the crashed flyer. And almost in a fury, its eyes light up red, and it begins just overhand striking this flyer over and over and over again.
Then
This is. Oh.
you believe in luck, in fortune, 70.
Well, I believe there are forces we can't understand, so perhaps that's one of them.
I disagree with that. I simply assume that everything will go as badly as possible, and it's up to you yourself to overcome it.
Well, whether it's fortune or no, again, it seems, they have concern only for themselves there, so let's continue our pursuit.
All right.
Onward.
So, you guys have 2 options here. You can either attempt a move quietly to sneak your way out, or you can, of course, engage them in combat. But I mentioned this specifically because I think one of you has a quietly of 1, if I remember correctly.
Indeed. You
And
know
the other
it.
has a quietly of 2.
Nice.
That's what we're talking about. But I think we should sneak anyway just because it would be funny, honestly.
Yeah, let's do it. I believe in us. We're masters of stealth.
All right, so this is
So
going to
when
be a little bit different for Kongo because A1 has a skill of 1. You're actually going to be using the single roll macro for this one. And the reason for that, to sort of explain the system a little bit, is that when you have a 1 in a skill, what that would mean normally is you're just trying to roll a 1 on a d12. That's not very interesting, leads to crit fishing, etc., etc. So
Yes.
what you do to sort of counteract that is you just roll 1d12 and you roll beneath your action or what you're trying to do. So it would be a 1d12 underneath your move here, A1.
Of 11.
Mm-hmm.
So I would roll a single roll under 11.
Correct. And you
There
get
you
one
are.
success.
Okay, and I should roll a normal move quietly.
Yeah, because you have a skill of 2, you would roll normally. And what I'm going to do is, all right, let me check. Only 112. So what I'm going to say then is if one of the machines gets 2 successes, then they're going to notice you. So here's for the small machines. That's just 1, so the small machines don't notice you. The medium bipeds are going to look next. And they should have only 1 success. Very nice. You guys got lucky. So, you're able to exfiltrate out of the parking structure as you sort of look behind you as you proceed through the streets. You see that at this point, the small flyer that had crashed to the ground has been reduced to scrap. There is nothing remaining of it other than bits of metal and bits of debris that probably aren't even going to be able to be reclaimed. It's that badly damaged. But as you all proceed deeper into this town, as it were, I think that is the perfect opportunity for a 5 to 10 minute break. So we'll be back in about 5 to
Certainly.
10 minutes, everybody. Stick around.
Well,
All right, and welcome back, everybody. We decided to take a 5-minute break rather than a 10 one because we have a lot to get through today. So, A1 and 7D, as you proceed through the structures and what was once probably a bustling beach town, you eventually come upon what is probably the remains of a library or a hotel. You're honestly not sure which. All you really know is that there is not only a bunch of burnt out taxi cars that have been overgrown with weeds, but there are a flight of stairs that leads up into the building with Corinthian columns, and flanking either side of the stairs are big stone lions. One of the stone lions is missing its face, the other one is missing its entire back half. So something came through here to smash up those lions. But as you all sort of approach this building, you check around, you sort of check your tracking skills and all that. You realize that if 10H is anywhere, at least assuming again that your tracking is correct, she's in this building somewhere.
How
Around
convenient.
around the statues, does there appear that the debris is recent?
I would say that when you look at the debris from the statues, what you're noticing is that only parts of them are covered in moss. And those parts that are covered in moss are the ones that have been knocked off of the statues. So the statues themselves, no moss. The parts that are on the ground, moss.
That seems peculiar.
Are you aware of
Well,
that, ELH?
I
There
am.
were
I
two
actually was just about
redeems.
to address it. Yes. I think what the complication is going to be here is as you sort of inspect the statues. I'm going to pick on 7D, I think, in this instance. So 7D, as you're sort of kneeling down to inspect part of the debris, the statue to your right, the one right next to you, begins falling towards you as if pushed by an invisible force. And I'm going to need you to roll me a move quickly here to get out of the way of the statue.
go.
Whoosh.
Can I do a barrel roll?
All right. Hey, that's one success. I honestly don't think I'm going to roll that well for this, but let's just roll it for giggles. I'll do it manually since it seems my macro is not working today. Yes, actually, you do manage to succeed because it only rolled one success and ties goes to the player. So 7D, you're able to definitely leap out of the way as the lion statue slams into the ground where you once were and shatters into 100 different pieces. But as you do so, A1, you catch a gleam of something metallic from one of the windows that is on ground level. Uh-oh, you might be muted.
Are you muted?
Oh, there you go.
They might just be thinking.
No, I think it was to you. You saw something in the window.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm the one that saw
A1.
something in the window. I
Yeah,
misunderstood.
A1
My
saw.
bad. I immediately, or rather, A1 immediately throws a throwing axe at it, whatever it is.
Okay. And for this, we are actually going to enter into a little bit of combat here. And we'll resolve this roll, then we'll handle initiative and all that. So, your throwing axes, I believe you, since you have them, you can use them at range without
The case.
any detriment. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to contest with a defend.
All right. So I will go for. I believe this would be quickly, wouldn't it? Because it's a very snap movement.
Definitely quickly, I agree.
Do we bother with style advantage here?
Not quite, because they're defending, and they're not really using a skill that you could contest. And I'll explain that when we enter into combat the first time, and so it's not completely in the wind. Okay,
Oh,
hey,
goodness.
that's 7 successes, and that actually gets you one more drive, bringing you to cap. So what you're gonna do, A1, is you quickly see the gleam. You quickly grab one of your throwing axes, huck it at the gleam, and there's a cry of pain seconds later as your axe impacts whoever is behind.
That should trigger energy charge as well, so it'll do 2 damage to them.
Okay, and that is important. And it is at this point that I think we are
horrifying.
we are going to enter into a little bit of structured combat. So a few things to address about combat. We'll take it step by step. Is first thing is what you want to do is roll a d12, and you want to add your quickly score to that d12, and that is your number in initiative.
Okay, so it's 10 for me.
Okay, so 7D has a 10.
Just a moment. Let me just double check. Yes, it's correct.
And a 10. Very nice. That's a 21. That is. I think you're going. I think you're going first. I just have a feeling. Yeah, like even if she crits, there's no way she's beating you on initiative here.
Oh, horrifying.
All right. Well, she at least goes before 7D, which is good. All right. So, she doesn't go because 7D got a 10.
Nope.
I can math. So, what we do now is we enter into what is essentially a series of opposed checks. And these opposed checks are typically attack, defend, talk, but they could be the other actions as well. It's pretty much just what you want to do as a role-playing situation rather than a role-playing situation, or R-O-L-L.
Oh, I do understand, yes.
And what I would say is that in general, the way things work, and I'll flash this on screen so that everybody can take a look at it. The real bread and butter of combat comes down to this adverb chart, or the style chart. And as you can see, it's sort of a rotating circle of things that defeat other things. So for example, if you're doing something skillfully, you have advantage over someone doing something quickly. By the same token, someone doing something quickly has advantage over someone doing something strategically, and so on and so forth. And what I'm going to say here is that the enemy does get to cheat a little bit. I have to spend risk to do it. But if I do get some risk, I may mess with your advantages here, just so you know. But A1, it is your go. What would you like to do with your first turn?
So, just to make certain, was energy charge applied here?
It was.
All right. Tough. Let's see. 70, should we just kill her? Now, normally if I was by myself, I'd simply answer yes. But what do you think?
She's dangerous. We need to get her out of the way.
Well said. So, as A1 says that, his hair goes straight outward. His hair goes straight outward and starts to float around him. He is activating his assault mode.
Nice.
The seams of his joints glow red.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say, for the viewer at home, what does the Berserk mode do mechanics-wise, just so they know?
The assault mode adds 2d12 to all combat rolls, attack, defend, and move rolls. Mm-hmm. And immediately, there's no pods with us here, is there? Are there?
You actually do not have a pod unit on you, correct?
Reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah, initially the pod unit was in your flight units, and when the flight units went
reasonable.
Boom, yeah.
They could have probably floated down, but we weren't aware of that. Our pods! It's fine. So, yes, A1's hair starts floating around him, and his joints become red.
Love it.
Unfortunately, you'll have to die now. A1 throws both of his throwing axes at once, the corner 10 each. So I'll go for attack strategically there.
Okay. And I think she is going to probably defend. I don't think she can do quietly or quickly, so what I would say is that you don't have a style advantage, but you also don't have a style disadvantage.
How would I add do I just add 2 more d12s after this? Do I just roll 2 d12 after?
That or dynamically go in and change the macro, so I would just roll the 2 extra manually.
Yes, it would be easier, yes.
You only need to get more than 4 successes here, which I'm pretty sure you're going to manage, but yeah, that's a 7. Okay, so that is actually 8 successes, and there is a negative effect here.
It would be 9 because there's strategically is 11.
If that's the case, you got a hell of a lot more successes because this one says your skillfully is a 10.
Does it? No, I went for strategically.
Oh, strategically, yeah. So yeah, it says it's a 10. Huh.
Interesting. No, it says on my. I might have just inputted it wrong, honestly.
I'll look into it in a moment. But if that's the case,
no,
way,
no, you're right. It is 10. It is 10. My mistake.
Okay. No, it happens. What I'm going to say then is you, of course, succeed and hit 10H, but there is a complication that comes with it. So would you like the complication, or should I handle it?
Certainly. So first off, I will use an energy charge, as usual. Okay. This is how you burn drive. And I suppose, how do I say this? The complication is that one of the axes don't immediately return to A1's hand.
Got it.
How's that?
I love it, because I can work with that. So as your throwing axes go soaring from your hand and sort of twirl end over end in the air, making a whistling sound, both of them embed themselves into the android's shoulders. And by this point, you can just see the silhouette of 10H just sort of take both of these hits and grunt in pain as they do so. However, A1, as you sort of recall the throwing axes, only one comes back to you.
Oh, it must have cut a bit too deeply.
And yeah, 7D, it is now your turn.
A1 seems to have her handled pretty well so far. I actually want to check area near the statues, I guess, with study, because it concerns me that something knocked over the statue, and I'm not convinced it was her.
Okay. In that case, I want you to roll me a study and a quickly here, because you're doing it under fire.
Let's see, quickly, let's go.
All right, I believe survey says 3 successes. I have good news and bad news. Which would you like first?
Let's take the good news.
The good news is that your instincts are correct, and you're not going to be ambushed by the thing that triggered the statue falling. The bad news is that there's a thing that's going to try and ambush you. So,
right.
7D, as you sort of inspect the statue, you see that something threw a rock, a very large rock, at the statue. And as you sort of trace back, you see that stomping out of almost Kool-Aid Man style through a wall comes a Goliath-sized biped, a machine life form with these sort of big, bulky side arms that are almost like gauntlets in size, with these sort of spindly joints that allow the biped to sort of swirl and twirl these almost hammer arms at rapid rate. And it is careening towards you. And it only rolled a 4, so it's going to go dead last.
Exciting.
How troublesome. The number of enemies don't really matter, though.
At this point,
That's so long as you take them out, I suppose.
it is at this point that 10H is going to actually sort of point a rifle or a firearm of some sort. You can't really tell from the darkness of the building and the angle, but she does pull out a weapon and aim it directly at A1, seeing that she thinks he's the biggest threat here. So the way we're going to handle this is firearms don't traditionally do styles. So I'm going to actually let you roll first here and sort of keep the NPC a mystery what they're doing, because I think that's probably the best way to do it.
I'll go for attack versus attack, I suppose.
Okay. And what style are you using?
I suppose in this case it would be quickly, because I'm reacting.
Okay. Well, the good news is that they were doing a strategically, so you actually have type advantage on this one.
How scary.
Alright, so let me go through here. Looks like your number to beat is a 5. Which with a 9, you do.
And I have these 2 more as well. So
okay, with an 11, you do. But again, there's a complication on the field. So you are able to use your throwing axe to deal 1 more point of damage to 10H. Maybe you dodge out of the way of the bullet.
I'll finish them off with energy charge.
Okay. So what I'm going to say then, unless you have a good complication?
I'll let you do this one. It seems like you have something in mind.
I do, and you're probably going to hate me for it.
That's fine.
Because when you huck your remaining axe at her, she goes down hard. But again, when you go to pull the axe back, it does not come to your call. It is either stuck in her good or it is broken somehow.
Unfortunate.
And at the moment, 10H is otherwise indisposed, so let's remove them from the turn order. And now we have to deal with the Goliath biped. So 7D, the Goliath is of course going to attack you. How would you like to respond?
Probably going to try and defend to block against any attacks first while I'm gauging what it can actually do.
Okay. And what style defend are you going to be doing?
Carefully.
Okay.
I don't know how much is going to come towards me, so I'm going to give it all I have to repel it.
Okay. You cut out on my end. Which one did you do?
Oh, sorry, powerfully.
Powerfully. Okay, got it. So the good news is that it was doing a strategically. So I guess actually that's bad news for you. But it's trying to corral you more or less. So you don't have a style advantage, but it does. All right, so get the Goliath here. It has a style advantage. It doesn't have a successful defend. All right, your number to beat is a 5.
Is that successful defend?
No, if you do succeed on this, then your next attack roll would have that, yes.
Let's put it no for the drop down for the macro.
Yep. All right, wow, that is 8 successes. And actually, because you got 2 1s, you actually get a number of drive. Actually, you get 1 drive back from that. Very nice. Very nice. So yeah.
I'll handle the drive.
Got it. So 7D, as the Goliath biped spins its arms like a whirlwind at you, and it comes bearing down on you, trying to herd you towards A1, where it can get both of you at the same time. You stand your ground, and you more or less use your defender instincts to not only block the incoming swinging of arms, but you stop the arms right before they impact you. Almost like I hesitate to use the Force as a descriptor here, but it's one of those things where the same mystical energy or the mystical technology that allows your weapons, like your high androids, to have weapons float behind them, you use that same sort of method to generate a glowing aura around the palm of your hand to stop the biped's motion mid-track. And now we come to round 2. Now, the way combat works is that every single new round, you re-roll initiative. So if you guys could re-roll your initiative, and we will flavor appropriately. All right, well, the biped got a 12 this time. Looks like A1 got a 14. And then what am I adding for 7D?
4, so it's a 7.
7. Got it. All right, well, A1, your primary target is down. What are you going to do about the Goliath biped?
So A1 will use a tree as a footstool to jump over to where 10H is so that he can retrieve his axe.
Okay. So, because the biped is not currently in range with you, you are able to move there quite quickly. I'll give you an option here. You can either roll and get the chance of complications, etc., or we can just say you complete this without any issue.
I think that there's no risk involved here, so I'll just have him move.
Okay. So as you hop up the stairs and dive through the window to retrieve your hand axes, what you see is that 10H, you've quite literally dismembered her. Her left leg and her right arm are sliced cleanly off, and you can sort of see the servos and circuitry inside spark. She still has a light to her eyes, a red light, but is probably in the death throes of about to shut down kind of a thing. And as you come into view of her, she looks at you best she can and says, "You're being lied to. You know that, right?"
Of course I do. One does not become as old as I am and not know they are being lied to.
Then why do you do it?
Because that's what I'm told. Is it not that simple, 10H? What gives your life meaning, now that you have so little of it left?
I don't have any risk, but if I had risk, I was going to spend it to that she was going to activate her black box, but I don't have any risk. So I think what she's...
Can one of the chat give you risk though?
Chat just gave me risk. Yay!
Please blow us up.
Go for it. Go for it.
Oh, thank you, Sir James Boquet. Thank you. So yeah, that's going to be the complication, is that her black box that is in her chest begins glowing with a baleful red light as it begins to charge up. Now, what I'm going to say here, A1, is that when we come back around to you in initiative order, you have one opportunity, maybe two, we'll see where things lie, but you have an opportunity to defuse the black box before it detonates. But it's going to be a pretty difficult tinker check, just so you know.
All right.
All right.
So, that'll be my turn, I believe.
Very good. We now go to the Goliath biped and 7D. Would you like to attack versus attack versus defend?
Does it seem like it had any moves besides just the arm drill that was coming at me?
Mostly just the arm drill. I mean, machine life forms are, to put it plainly, they're kind of one-trick ponies when it comes to attacking, so...
Well, then I will try and attack back and try and get one of the arms disabled.
Excellent. What style are you using?
I will do that strategically.
Strategically. Well, it also will do it strategically, which means that neither of you have a style advantage, but you have the advantage of a successful defend.
Okay.
And the number to beat here is a 4.
Enemies crit fail.
Enemies can crit fail. And
All right,
with
and
that
that's
many
quite good as well.
Yeah, that's very good. So let's see. With 4, you get 2 drive backs, so you're at 5. And what I'm going to say is 7D, what critical injury would you like to inflict to this biped?
I'm trying to, while I still have it held back, get my poleaxe at the ready, swing down, and lop one of those arms.
All right. And as your axe comes down, you quite literally slice through the whirling hunk of metal, severing the digit or the appendage completely. And it drops to the ground and cling, 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 rattles across the stone that is peeking through the grass and other bits of greenery. And the Goliath biped is now off balance. It is almost like spinning on itself as its one remaining arm continues to, rotate. So it's kind of doing a little bit of a, what's the expression? A helicopter? Just on the wrong side, if you will. But we now go to 7D. It is now your turn to act.
Okay, well, it's already off balance. I'm going for that other arm, so I'm going to attack it powerfully.
Okay. And it is going to attempt to methodically do something, so neither of you have type advantage, unfortunately. Alright, so let's see. They are going to roll... Ooh, that is 6 successes. You may wish to spend drive here. Remember, you do have 5 drive at the moment.
Feel free to pop one if you'd like, because I only need 2 for energy charge.
Yeah, let's... I'm going to use one, and I forget how I...
Just roll it manually.
I'll handle
for the
that in a
time being.
second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. And you are a 10 or lower, so just by the skin of your teeth, you are able to succeed here. So, tell me, what happens to the Goliath's other arm?
Like, this one was not quite as clean as the first blow, but, try and jump up and, drive the poleaxe down into the joint of it, and I guess sort of messily half saw it from the body.
Alright. So now, disarmed, see what I did there? The biped just sort of looks down at you with its comically small head and just stares. It just sort of stares at you. But we're now at the top of initiative order, so I need everybody. Let's reroll that initiative. And at this point, I don't think the biped's a threat. I don't think it can really attack you, so I'm just going to take it out of turn order. But based on your roll here, it could matter with the black box. All right, so an 18. And then 7D.
Plus 5.
Nice. All right, and just so that we know when the black box is going off, I'm going to roll for 10H. So it goes off on 8, unless things happen. So, A1, you've got a critical mass black box ahead of you. And for those who don't know what the black box does when it detonates, it is like basically a suitcase nuke. All Yorha androids have them. And let's just say you really don't want this to go off.
What's the range of it, though?
Enough that you would have to pass a very difficult move quickly to get out of the blast radius in time.
And would 70 be caught either way? Because I believe they're slower than the black box.
You would have to pick them up and carry them with you in order for her to escape. Or for them to escape.
I think that's safer because there's no way that A1 would be able to disarm this. you know what his scores are.
Yeah.
ELH.
Yes,
so,
A1,
what
carry
A1
me in your big
does-
strong arms.
What A1 does is kick the axe out of 10H's body first, and then jump out the window swiftly as possible.
Okay. And as you rush forward, grabbing 7D and what I like to imagine is maybe a princess carry.
No, it's a shoulder carry. Why would it be a
carry.
princess carry?
I don't know. I just like
So
princess
on
carries.
one shoulder, like a duffel bag.
Like a duffel bag. Okay. Certainly one way to do it. All right. Well, I need a move quickly here. It is a very high difficulty. And for
Certainly.
suspense, I'm not going to tell you what the difficulty is.
That's all right.
What are you doing?
I do have 2d12 as well. So that's 8 successes.
Which is good, because that's exactly what you needed to succeed here.
There we
So-
are. So if I was not in assault mode, that would have failed.
That would have failed, correct. And chat just gave you a point of drive as well, so that's good.
Take it.
So, as you lunge, that's a word. As you lunge forward and put every single bit of speed and strength you can getting out of the blast radius, you maybe sort of look back, or maybe 7D sort of has a view towards the rear, where you see 10H on only one good leg and one arm sort of sort of force themselves up. And as the black box inside their chest begins to reach the breaking point, you see that 10H actually smiles. And then there is a monumental explosion, a fusion detonation, as the entire area goes up. And you are quite literally on the edge of the explosion, A1. You are just barely able to keep out of range as the explosion continues to go out and out and out. And you get to the beach where you first arrived, and you have nowhere left to go. And you turn around expecting the worst. But the good news is that just by a little bit of luck, the explosion does not reach the beach completely. Instead, a blast of hot air and debris careens past your face, blowing your hair in the wind, as you have successfully eliminated 10H.
Great mankind.
Is that what did you do?
She decided. That laugh was out of character, by the way. Because A1 does have his own laugh. She was somewhat troublesome. She detonated her black box as a show of defiance. But I knew I could escape, at least as I am now.
Still in assault mode.
Indeed. Have you seen this before, 70?
And so actually noticing that they take a few steps back to observe A1. Right, I understand.
70. Go for it.
I understand this was one of the unique features of your older models, wasn't it?
Indeed, but most of us who had assault mode, or do they call it berserk mode these days? Most of us who had this mode rather, met early deaths, met early ends. This assault mode drives the body to the maximum output, you see, and only the most skilled are able to handle it. In all my time, I only know one other A unit capable of it. I believe she's dead now.
The drain on your resources that drives you to demise, or your own recklessness.
Now. Don't call me reckless. I know what I'm doing. 70. We're both alive, aren't we?
Yes, we are, but I don't know what happened in there to prompt the rogue to act in such a way, or is that just one of her faulty systems?
Even if we're the same type, we don't understand each other. Once you become an aberrant android, elimination is all that awaits you. So, I hope that you will choose to follow your orders until the end, 70.
He just sort of cocks their head and then goes to survey the rest of the beach and see remains of our units, if anything.
As that
Gotcha.
happens, the assault mode ends as well, I believe. It's one scene, isn't it?
That is correct. Yes, your assault mode does end.
So A1's hair goes back down, and the red in his joints, the red glow to his body ceases.
You leave Super Saiyan mode.
Mm-hmm. But as that all happens, you all start to get another signal, and it goes a little something like this. Oh, to 70 and A1, 71. Can you hear? Hello, operator 70 to A1 and 7D. Hello.
You're
Hello,
audible.
bunker. Yes, this is 7D.
Good. We're finally getting a clear signal. Perhaps there was some sort of jamming unit that the rogue android had set up?
Plausibly.
We can report that 10H has been eliminated.
Very good. I'm sure the commander will be pleased. I notice you don't have your flight units anymore. Should I send new ones?
Please do.
That would be appreciated.
Oh dear. It seems the most. And she hesitates for a good minute before finally going on to say, do you feel like waiting around for a couple hours?
Oh, there's no issue with that. We've already
What is the
destroyed the
problem?
most time-sensitive target.
And in answer
Is there an
to
issue with the units?
To answer that, there's a little more hesitation, and this time the commander gets on the horn rather than Operator 7-0. And the commander says, well, it seems that the machines have more or less redirected all of their anti-air defenses to handle southern approach. We're, of course, attempting to calculate and secure a northern approach. But unless you want to go up in the fireball again, you probably are going to want to take a boat over to one of the other islands. You do remember your training on how to make rudimentary boats, yes?
Of course.
Well, I'd say get to it.
I don't believe I received that training. Is that a new part of the curriculum?
And I think because I find it funny, the commander just turns off the communication right there.
We weren't even able to ask them to send down pods. They probably could have done that.
Well, perhaps if we can get some new units, those will be attached. Well, and as far as the boat construction, I am not the most skilled at that, but I can try and instruct you and we will figure that out together.
Chat
For
just
the
gave me an
most
idea,
part.
actually. I'm just going to throw this out there. You guys can, of course, decide to do it or not. Totally up to you, but
Go
someone
for it.
suggested that if you spend 2 drive to say that the Goliath biped survived, you could turn it into a boat.
Where's that in chat? I don't see that.
Oh, it's in my Discord, so.
Ah, I see.
I was going to.
Hmm.
So the first thing is we do need to look for materials. So yeah, 7D will suggest. Well,
Well, wouldn't it
let's
have been
see.
wiped out though? Because it
That's
was
what
in
the
the
2
blast
drive
radius,
spend would
wasn't it?
be.
Ah,
Before we do that, do the machines generally look like they would be made of a buoyant enough material to be building a small boat out of?
I mean, my only return to that is, do you know how heavy an actual carrier is in real life? And that thing still floats, so.
That's true.
to be honest, 70, I could just run across the water. How about you?
Oh, I don't think that is exactly in my skill set.
Are you certain?
I was not outfitted for speed.
Reasonable. I did have to carry you, 70.
If you had given me some warning, I could have attempted my own escape, but appreciated.
So, a boat. How about swimming? Are you able to swim?
Can we?
Nope, you cut out a little bit there.
I said, I don't think we can swim, can we?
I mean,
I
your
don't think. I think that we're
androids.
insulated.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, if you're insulated against space, you technically should be able to swim. I mean, you're just sort of heavy. Like, if I remember the stats correctly, 2B is what, 300 kilos?
Yes.
Um, so I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I was
probably
trying to remember if there were issues with water or not.
I don't think so in NieR anyway.
right. I think it's one of those things where, if anything, even if you don't swim, you can just sort of walk along the bottom, kind of a thing.
All right. Well, they are first going to try and look for any boat material.
Okay.
I'll leave it up to you then.
I'd like you to give me a study and a methodically here.
Well, strictly speaking, I'm certain that they're able to paddle strongly enough that they'd be able to push even 300 kilograms.
Hmm.
Because they are superpowered. They don't have human strength. They're not a 300 kilogram human.
This is true. All right, 4 successes. But there is a complication. So I actually think I know what I want the complication to be, but instead I'm going to take risk because I want risk again. So you do succeed still, though, 70, and I'm going to offer you a few choices. The first is that there are large enough trees that if you were to cut one down and sort of hollow out an area for you and A1 to sit, you could sort of tree your way across the waves. Option two is that you do find what seems to be the remnants of what was probably a sailing school at one point. There are dilapidated hulls of small sailboats that might suit your purposes. And then the third thing is that you could just sort of, I don't know, kick back on the beach, catch some sun, wait for the flight units. Always an option.
Do we know
As
how
I.
far we have to go?
And that's why I actually brought us to this map of Hawaii. So if you all were going to go and handle the red-haired android, you would have to go to the west. It's a little bit closer, but either way, if you were to go east to deal with the fallen structure, regardless of which way you go, unfortunately, your current island is in the middle. So either way, you have a long trek to the other island, regardless of which one you pick.
Yeah, I'm trying to weigh if it would be, faster to try and go across the water or just to wait.
Personally, I'd just wait. I would enjoy having my pod.
As would I. I don't think it will be worth our time and efforts to try and get there manually.
All right. So, as you all have chosen to wait, I get to roll something here, and I'm going to roll it
Go
in
for it.
secret. I think chat's going to see it either way, but let's see what happens here. Okay, interesting. All right. So, what's going to happen is you wait the requisite 2 hours, and eventually you get another call from the bunker. And the call goes something like Operator 7-0 to 7D and A1. You should be seeing the flight units arriving from the north. And sure enough, you look
And
towards the horizon, and you do see 2 flight units barely inches above the water flying at you.
Ah, there they are.
right on time.
Now, people say that 2 hours is a long, long time. But that went by in an instant, didn't it?
Quick enough.
It's like the Skyrim wait for androids. They just go into idle mode for 2 hours.
That was a joke, by the way, because we are almost 2 hours in.
We really are. We really are.
Oh wow, yeah.
Oh dear. All right. Well, now that you both have your flight units, which island do you want to tackle next? Do you want to tackle the fallen facility on Maui, or do you want to handle the red-haired android on Oahu?
So immediately before anything else, Pod attend me.
And sure
And I
enough,
will use.
go
You
ahead.
go for it.
No, it's you
I'll
go.
let you. You're controlling the. Ah, certainly. So the pod pops out, and A1 immediately demands the Tinker program, the repair program.
Very well. And part of the pods, now that we have actual pods on the field, I can introduce this mechanic. So basically, the pods can operate in two ways. They can either just sort of fire like machine gun fire, like we see in the base game, or they can basically activate a program. And one of the programs is Tinker, and it does uncheck a single box of health. So the good news is that there is no roll required with Tinker, which means that immediately you heal your one box of health.
So, this is what wisdom is, 70. When I have my pod on hand, it immediately repairs any damage I take from using my assault mode.
The wisdom of having an attendant.
The wisdom of not loading a weapon onto it. I'm enough of a weapon, 70.
If you insist.
And
If
just
I insist. Go for it.
sorry, I was just gonna say real quick. What is 7D's program? Real quick.
Oh, I decided to take the Volt.
Full. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I needed it for my notes. Carry
No
on.
issue. What does Volt do again? Is it an AoE electricity attack or something?
No, that's the one that paralyzes a target.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's a strong one. Did you not see me dispatch 10H, 70?
I did. It was well done. I admit you are skilled at what you are constructed for.
I was constructed for much less than this. Much of this combat capability comes with something called experience. An odd concept that you improve at something beyond your programming, is it not?
Well, I suppose that is a form of progress. Not too strange.
This is what living a long life gets you, 70. Try not to be scrapped too early.
I hadn't planned on it, but thank you for the advice.
Alright, so that's it from A1.
Okay.
Yep,
So,
just gonna climb on in.
all right. My only question before we go to break again is which island do you guys want to tackle next?
What do you think? Should we go
Think
for... Go for it.
I think the facility seems slightly more pressing, so probably that one.
Alright. A1's satisfied with that.
Very well. All right. Well, we're going to take another 5 to 10 minute break, probably closer to 5 minutes, but we'll be back shortly. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody. If you're just tuning in, the lovely A1 and 7D have managed to eliminate their
Incoming
first target.
transmission.
Oh, Monochrome Song, thank you for the follow. They have managed to eliminate their first target, a rogue android known as 10H. And not only did they eliminate the target, but they were able to escape the resulting black box explosion. And they are now on the route to the island of Maui, where they will find a facility that they are to eliminate before the machines can get to it. So, as you sort of fly towards the island of Maui over the waves, the second largest Hawaiian island was once known by humans for its world famous beaches. And normally, it's covered in rich rainforests, striking waterfalls, all manner of lush scenery, as it were. However, even far out from the island, you notice that something is very wrong here. Specifically, the iconic Io Needle, a green mantled rock that's over 1,200 feet tall. It has been shattered, almost like someone has snapped it like a blade. And the reason for which is readily apparent. In a still smoking crater lies what looks to be the debris from an installation much like the bunker. The general design is the same, and even parts of the ring are still intact. But honestly, just looking at this thing, it kind of seems that the impact has done most of your work for you. And for the moment, let's say that you're still in your flight units, still hovering over this scene as you take a look at the broken bunker below. Also, you guys did get a drive from chat, so there you go.
I
Thank you,
did
chat.
count it already.
Excellent.
My gratitude, chat. You are fueling the energy charge. Oh
So
yes.
from our current position, does the structure it's the same make style as the bunker? Is it roughly the same size?
Correct, yes. It is as large as the bunker up in space that you originally came from is, so it is actually a quite sizable installation.
Ah, a failed attempt.
Attempt at what?
An attempt at creating a secondary base. Or was this the first base? Sometimes I forget. There are very few things worth remembering, 7D.
And yet you seem to remember a fair few of them.
Ah, one does not choose what they remember, unfortunately.
Wish to remember you could simply wipe your memories.
Ah, but you'd lose everything, wouldn't you?
I guess that's the choice you'd have to make.
And I prefer to stay, A1. If my memories were wiped, whatever's left of me would surely throw this body into a fire.
MD does not respond, just hovers closer to get a look at the scene.
Sure. And yeah, if you want to give me a study, and I would say either strategically or methodically could apply here, I'll let you do either. Five successes is sufficient. 6 successes also sufficient, and none of you rolled ones, so unfortunately no drive. However, you did succeed. So the both of you, in your own way, realize that the main central section of the bunker, the dead bunker, we'll call it, the dead bunker's central section is missing. You, of course, see the wire infrastructure and the scaffolding that once supported it as part of the broken ring that lies half embedded into the earth. But the central core itself is nowhere to be found, and you're not seeing any debris that would seem to indicate where it was or what happened to it, which does unfortunately mean that you can't just overload the reactor to get rid of this ring. The other thing that you notice with that many successes is that a little ways off from where the dead bunker has landed, there appears to be a metal-lined square hole that leads underground. Now, what that's doing there, you have no idea, but it is something I will mention with that many successes.
Shall we descend?
As well.
I don't believe our flight units would fit in there, though. So, should we leave them here?
Yes, I don't think we'll need them down there.
7D, allow me to ask you this. Do you think you could defeat a flight unit by yourself?
I mean, one of these.
Yes, one of the things we're riding.
Well, why should we be fighting them?
Ah, you never know now, do you? Because I've had to do that before. In a place very similar to this.
Can't say that I've ever tried, but I don't know.
So, A1 lands his flight unit and prepares to go down the hole.
All right.
And
7D, you do the
before
same?
going down the hole, going to land, but also I want to check from where the structure core should have been and look for, signs or tracks of anything.
I tell you what, if you give me 2 drive, I will give you a point of information that might be prudent. And we'll basically use this 2 drive spend as like a narrative declaration spend.
Do you want to go for it?
Let's do that. I can't remember how to
Alright.
spend it, though.
I'll spend
Thank
it
you.
for you.
There you go. So yes, actually, what you're noticing is that the sand beneath the central core, what used to be the central core, is massively disturbed. Now, that might seem kind of obvious because this structure crashed into the earth, etc., etc. This is more after the crash. This is more like somebody opened up a hole or some form of aperture underneath where the reactor was, and then hastily covered it with enough sand to pass inspection.
This structure has already been compromised.
Ah. A keen eye, 7D. What do you think that means?
Well, if we were to assume that anything on this would have been of interest to the machines, we have to think that they probably have it, and thus we should proceed with extra caution.
Certainly. I can agree with that.
All right. So, divest of your flight units, you hop into the hole down to the underside of whatever the hell this structure is. And when you land, you don't land on metal. Strangely, you land in a bed of flowers. Quite large bed of flowers, actually. Almost like a football-sized arena of sorts that is just covered in these white, lily-like flowers. And as you pick yourselves up, you hear a clanging sound from behind you. If you didn't know by now, that's basically me saying there's a machine approaching you. And as you turn to look and get ready to defend yourself, what you see is a very odd machine. What you see is a small biped unit with a set of green eyes and a hastily painted on in red ink or paint of some sort, a smile. And in one of its hands, it's holding one of these white flowers and is offering it up to 7D.
So cute. Yeah, they're going to pause and just observe this machine for a moment, get a read on what it's doing. Looks to A1. Have you seen behavior like this before?
As I've said, 70, it's very common among machines. They wish to be something they are not.
So cautiously, 7D is going to crouch forward and extend a hand out.
And the biped sort of hands you the flower very carefully and then says something along the lines of, "Flower, flower good, flower."
Excellent work on that filter, by the way. Pardon.
Thank you. No,
Yeah,
you're fine.
yeah, I love
I
it.
worked really hard to get it to work right. I'm glad it worked.
And they'll say, yes, it's a flower. Just accepts the flower and looks at the flower.
And what I would say about the flower is it's actually quite fragrant, quite fresh. I'm going to let you decide whether or not this is the case for your own character, but this honestly might be the first time you've actually been given a live flower. The only reason I say that is because there is an actual mission in Automata where getting an operator a flower is a thing.
No, I think it is, and I think actually, when they first landed, they were pretty stunned at, actually experiencing all these flowers. And so for a moment, they're just a bit mesmerized by looking at it up close.
Yeah, and
Are
as
you
you
being
inspect... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Go for it. Are you being overcome by something, 70?
And quickly snaps their head over it. No. It's just so delicate.
No, you should allow yourself to be overcome. These are emotions you would not feel in the bunker.
If you allow yourself to be overcome, you will lose sight of dangerous things.
Not everything is dangerous.
And at this point, the biped has picked up another flower, and towards A1 this time, it says, "Take flower, flower for android."
Certainly. A flower. It's been a while since I've bothered paying attention to one. But just out of pity for you. So A1 takes the flower and then puts it into his hair.
Oh, okay. And I think the machine sort of cocks its head to the side, looking up at you, and it picks up another flower. And I forgot to mention it has a bow, but it sort of tries to mimic what you've done with your hair, but this time with its bow. So now there's like a flower sticking out of where the bow is attached to its head.
And privately, 7D is noting the similarity between the flower and A1's hair, but they're not voicing this.
All right.
As you can see, 70, they only know imitation.
But why? Why is it they want this?
This is our garden. We tend this garden.
Looks to the machine. Oh, for what purpose?
What purpose is there to life?
What a thing for a machine to say. I may have grown a certain fondness for this one.
Well, you can keep your pet machine, but we should start looking.
Certainly.
Do you need directions?
Ah, if you would be so kind.
The machine points down the breadth of the flower field, and you see that there is a set of doors, not unlike the kind you would see on the bunker that separates the outer ring from the habitats or the rooms. And you can see that the doors themselves are like half ajar, so you can kind of see a lit hallway behind it. But it's just across a very large flower field to get there.
All right, 70's
So-
already going to start to head towards it.
Do you know the kindest thing that I can do for you, machine?
You are going to try and kill me. I knew this would happen.
Ah, well said. But now that you understand that, I won't kill you.
The machine sort of tilts its head to the side a little bit and continues on to say, "You are not like the others."
Interesting. Allow me to leave you with this advice in exchange for this flower. What I just did for you is called sparing.
Like in bowling.
Similar to that.
And at this point,
Just as...
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
If I remember bowling correctly, just as picking up a spare will save your score, sparing your life here might do something down the line.
And yeah, it is at this point that flower boy, or girl, whatever they are, the flower machine sort of turns and starts to hobble away. You do notice that the reason you heard it clanking earlier was it literally has a lame leg, but it is still able to move around on its own power. And I guess my only question is, do you follow 7D towards the entrance to whatever the hell this installation is?
You have it. And it's trivial for A1 to catch up.
Yeah, very trivial. All right. So, when you pass through the ajar doors, it's eerily the same as the regular bunker, because you step into a hallway that curves up and around, like you are in the interior of a torus. However, since you're not in space anymore, you can't exactly just continue to walk straight. You would actually have to climb at some point to begin getting up the passageway. However, the good news is that there are several rooms which are accessible from this area of the habitat.
So
Well
any
then.
rooms that are accessible, I want to, obviously survey them for anything left inside.
Okay. Also, Nick, I'm gonna take a risk for that redeem there. But as you look inside 7D, I have to ask a personal question of 7D. What does 7D keep in her quarters?
Probably very little, standard issue stuff, and they probably have a couple small decorations of, small pictures that have been brought back from places and such, but not a lot that would really convey much of a personal interest in anything.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is because right down to millimeter placement, this room is exactly like the one you have on the bunker. Exactly the same.
What a classless room.
They're going to walk over to, like, the bed. There is they knew they had is like a small cutout picture of like a cartoon dog or something silly looking. I've seen this image. I have this image. I think this is something there's more than one of.
Is there more than one of it, you say? Where have you seen it before?
Well, I was given this from some collection of things that were brought back from Earth before. Perhaps this is something that, the humans enjoyed enough to make multiples of.
Plausible. But you seem quite shaken, 7D.
Just so few of the human artifacts survive intact, I'm surprised that there would be more than one, and never mind.
As I said before, this is the only time you can be overwhelmed. Beyond the watch of the bunker.
I agree. Kind of very hastily just crumple it and throw it back down.
My only question is, do you check any other rooms before you attempt to proceed deeper inside?
If there are any that are easily accessible along the way.
Well, I would simply ask
The-
the same question of A1. What does A1 keep in his room?
So A1's room. A1's room just has mattresses lined across the entirety of it. So across the whole of the floor there's mattresses. And it's covered in pillows. Pillows with different pillowcases.
I have to ask a very important question. Does he have a Dakimura?
No, he doesn't.
I had to ask, sorry.
No. I think it would be funny, actually. Let's say that he has one, but what would be on it, though?
Commander
Sexy
White?
machine.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe it's just a machine. There
Commander
you go.
White would never allow that. No, it's just a giant flower. There we are.
There you go. And yeah, A1, this room you're seeing in this bunker, the dead bunker, exact same copy of the one you have up in the sky.
So, A1 immediately reclines on one of the mattresses. So, I don't believe you've been in my room before, but welcome.
Your room. This is... What is all this, first of all?
So out of character.
Mhm.
Would A1 be familiar with this whatsoever? Because he has an unbroken line of memory.
No, and that's probably the worst thing to say because A1 has experienced a lot. You have zero explanation in all your time as being an active unit why there's a copy of your room in a structure like this.
Oh, let me say that there are things that even I can't explain. Do you know the saying, not even words are enough?
Yes, I do now.
That saying is garbage. You simply don't know the right words. And as of right now, I do not.
So these decorations are the same as a room on the bunker.
These decorations took me decades upon decades to acquire, 7D. Whenever I'd find a pillowcase, I would make a pillow for it. It's impossible that these would exist outside of my own room. And so this must be my room.
And 7D actually kind of jogs back out to look out a window and confirm they are not suddenly in space and that they have somehow missed something.
Yeah, you jog out to check a window, and all you see outside is a bunch of dirt and sand.
And then they stalk back over to the room and up. So what is going on here?
That's what we're here to find out. But personally, I think we should just destroy it.
Well, yes, our order was to destroy it. But fine, fine. We need to destroy it. Get up.
Ah, certainly. So A1 stands up from the bed.
All right.
He's just going to continue down the hall and not look in any other rooms.
So, as you proceed deeper, the curved hallway, after you climb a little bit, because it does slope up to the point where you would have to like dig a weapon in or dig your hands in and kind of clamber up the side. But as you kind of come up to what would essentially be a lip, where another room would branch off of the torus, you're able to haul yourselves up, and you enter into what is a large hangar bay. Maybe this was the landing bay or the launch bay of this crashed bunker. But inside this space is not flight units like the ones up in space, but are two large machines. There's one in black and there's one in white. They are both equipped with 6 legs and different pedipalps. At least I think that's how the hell you say that. The black one has bladed pedipalps, and the light one has gun or some form of ranged firearm looking ones. Now, the important information here is that while they are active, they are simply just standing next to a large hangar door that beyond which you can see the glow of what you suspect is the reactor.
Should we
Yeah.
I'll go for it.
Okay, so that I think we know what happened to the reactor.
Should we just destroy it, have it blow up, and leave? These spheres, these round orbs, are quite formidable. I have experience with them.
Well, ideally, yes, that we can destroy both them and this place. That would achieve our mission.
I suppose we can't leave them be. Do you want to set the reactor to explode while I fight them off?
Be fine with the two of them.
Yes, it shouldn't be an issue.
Fine. Alright, you engage them, I'll move around.
All right.
So that's our plan.
And with that, why don't we get some initiative going here? And then I'll describe how this will go down, because this is a multi-step sort of combat. All right, so looks like A1's at an 11. Let's see, that is 13 for 7D, if I add that right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then the spheres have 7. 1d12 plus 7, so one rolled, ooh, wow, one crit, nice.
Quickly.
All right, 19 and 15, which means they're going to get to go first. Nice. All right, so what I'm going to say here is that this is going to be sort of a timed encounter. And the reason for that is both something I can tell you and something I can't tell you. So I'm only going to give you half the information here.
All right.
But there is a hard limit of 6 rounds on this combat. In addition, the act of getting to the reactor will take 1 entire turn. The act of setting the reactor to blow will take an entire turn. And then whatever time you have left can be spent running away. But just remember, for reasons that will become apparent, there is a hard limit of 6 rounds. So, to start combat, what I'm going to say is that as 7D, you begin to inch your way around the spheres towards the reactor. the light sphere begins to track you and its guns begin to point in your direction. And I think that's maybe when A1 steps in front and gets the sphere's attention. Is that probably safe to say?
So that sounds reasonable. So I'll use an attack versus attack here.
All right. So the sphere is going to not have a advantage on this because it's using a firearm. So your number to beat is a 4.
All right. No successful defense. 7.
7 is more than sufficient, and it's interesting because you both have a critical success and a complication. So you actually get 1 drive back, and then would you like to flavor the complication, or should I?
I'll let you flavor it. Go for it.
Got it. So I'm going to say then is as you do attack the light sphere, dealing 2 damage to it, as is your energy charged weapon does, the dark sphere is able to sort of leap from behind the light sphere, coming careening down at you. And what I'm going to say is that as its 2 blades come down at you, you're going to only have a 1 attempt defend on this, and it must be a defend action. There's not enough time to parry this.
No issue.
So, this is going to be an attack versus defend, and your number to beat here is probably going to be not that high, but we'll roll it anyway. Your number to beat here is a 5.
Oh, my defend is just 1, I believe.
Well, in that case, I do not think it is mathematically possible for you to succeed.
It's not
here.
mathematically possible, yes.
So I think what happens then is the dark sphere is going to not only slice down at you, impacting you across the chest as you take 1 damage. And
certainly,
I think what I'm going to do, because I find it interesting, I'm going to spend 2 points of risk to double that damage, putting you at 1 out of 3 health. Because I think that's interesting from a gameplay perspective.
That's
now you're
reasonable.
Sort of
Let's go for it.
But the good news is that's all the spheres can do on their turn, which means 7D. What is your move in this instance?
It's pretty clear that A1 took a big impact.
Very clear. There's a splattering of what looks like blood, but you know is not blood, across the deck plating.
Okay, as they're about to start picking up speed, they like halt for a half second, call over A1 status.
This is nothing to worry about.
Going to accept that and then try and move towards the reactor.
All right, that's going to be a move quickly, and there will be an opposed roll here, and I'll just roll that first so you know what you have to beat. So you're, oh dear. That, is it mathematically possible for you to get 7 successes? That's the question. Wow, it rolled really well. Yeah, I don't think it's mathematically possible. Yeah, well, it was. It just unfortunately did not.
I could have, yeah.
So I think what happens is as you rush forward trying to get past the spheres, the light sphere from its rear or perhaps its side panel opens up and fires in your direction. And unfortunately, you are going to suffer 1 health of your own as you take the laser attack.
And since I'm hit, can I... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is the good news is you are at least halfway towards the reactor. But as you're probably about to ask, yes, your Phoenix mod will apply here.
Okay, so it's a 1d12. Yeah.
Oh, so close.
Close.
So close.
So close.
So yeah, that's going to be 7D's turn as you go to 2 out of 3 health. A1, what is your move here?
So, regardless of his low amount of health, pod, repair, immediately.
All right. The pod swoops in and does
repair.
so. So you go back up to
pod,
2 out of 3 health.
the pod doesn't perform an attack and how do I say this? And the program on the same turn, does it?
Correct,
It's one
yes.
or the other.
It's one or the other, yeah.
And even as damaged as he is, he opens up with assault mode.
I love it.
So his hair flares up and his joints flame red, and the flower that's nestled in his hair burns to cinders.
Rip flower.
Ah, being this close to death, how exhilarating. 70, I'll leave this up to you. But it should not cause much issue. So as the light sphere is blocking 70, he'll go for an attack against it.
Okay. And tell me which style you're using for this one, because this is actually
Attack
going to be
attack strategically.
strategically. Alrighty.
Yes. So
And
he'll bounce the axe off a wall
I love
into
it.
the light
And
sphere's blind spot. Yes.
the sphere was going to use a methodically, so you actually have advantage over this thing.
Fantastic.
And I'm pretty sure you can beat 3 successes, but roll for, yeah, you got it. So yeah.
So that is 13 successes.
That is a significant number of successes. Let's see. So you only rolled 1 so you don't get any drive. But you do manage to, I'm assuming you're going to energy charge.
as well.
Yeah.
You know it.
So it's going to go down to that much health. And as you come in with your axe, you bounce it off a wall and it pings off the side of the light sphere. And for a moment, the light sphere is knocked off balance, which gives you agency to come in with the other axe and swipe a great gash across its side. And a shower of sparks and almost a metallic squeal emits from the sphere, but it is very much still standing at the end of your attack.
All right then.
All right.
That's my turn then.
And at that, we come to round 2, which means everybody rerolls initiative. All right, well, apparently the spheres are doing really, really well, especially the dark sphere.
6.
Nice. All right, so it does look indeed that basically 70 and A1 swap turns. So I think the dark sphere is going to go for you, A1. And I'm going to let you choose whether you do this in character or not, so don't feel bad about metagaming. But the dark sphere is going to be attacking you powerfully.
So as you'd expect, I do strategically anyway, honestly. I forget I don't even recall what the adverb chart is.
No,
but I do think strategically wins against powerfully.
It does indeed, it does.
So let's go for it.
And I'm pretty sure you'll beat 5 successes, but still roll. Let's see what happens.
Are you certain? You never know.
All 12s. Not enough 12s to be oh, nope, there you go. There's the 2-second 12. Alright, so you do get a successful attack on the Dark Sphere. However, you don't have energy charge right now, which means
no, so it's only 1 damage.
Only does the 1. And you want to do the complication, or should I?
Certain. No, I'll leave it up to you, actually, because it's difficult for me to want... I am incentivized here to choose complications that are not too difficult for me. I think it's better for you to do it here.
Fair enough. Then I think what's going to happen is, as you do manage to, again, slice at the side of the sphere with your axe, something happens. Your arm gets caught about halfway through the side, and the dark sphere whirls rapidly and is going to send you careening towards 7D. So 7D,
all right.
If you wish to dodge the incoming A1 projectile, I need you to roll me a move and probably skillfully here.
I want to try to catch him.
Okay. In that case, that might be a defend and a strategically. Then again, I'll keep the difficulty a secret for thematic's sake.
Okay.
7 successes.
Nice.
You needed 6.
Right.
So, A1, as you go careening through the air, maybe I like to imagine that 7D, you open your arms wide, maybe even get into like a football type stance, and you catch A1, because I find it funny, maybe the same way he was carrying you earlier.
Up half over the shoulder, yeah.
Well
Nice of you to
done.
drop in over here.
Oh, I'm doing all right. I could be doing better.
Yeah, I think you still have work to do. And just kind of tosses off, shoves him back towards the spheres.
Which is probably a good thing, because the light sphere is going to attempt to fire at range. So, A1, how you doing, buddy?
Same as usual. Let's go.
All
Attack
right.
versus attack.
So, it is going to have...
Strategically as usual.
All right, your number to beat is 5, which again, I'm pretty sure you can do, but let's see where the dice fall.
What was it? What was it? There'd be no advantage here, right?
No
If I
advantage
recall
because of
correctly.
ranged weapons,
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
8 successes, very nice. But
Let me roll my other 2 first. It might become a dirty critical.
might become, yeah. Not
Well, there
quite.
we are.
So,
10.
so it is a success, but there is indeed another complication on the field. Would you like this one, or should I take it?
Let's say that A1 is pinned down by the fire. He's distracted blocking the fire. So he can't move from his current spot.
I think that's fair. And yeah, what happens is you throw your axe and ping off the side of the sphere, doing minimal damage. And the resulting opening, as you wait for your axe to return to you, the light sphere fires baleful red light lasers at you, pinning you down behind maybe a bit of debris or a chunk of metal that has fallen here and there. And you are essentially pinned behind cover for the moment.
Yes.
But it is now your turn.
So, while he's behind cover, he's not able to move out of there. He'll throw an axe again angled off a wall to hit the light sphere.
Okay. And I think this time the sphere will have a style advantage. So
will,
let's see
okay.
how it does. Only 4 successes. Eight successes is more than
Complications
sufficient.
every single roll.
I don't know. I think that's great. That's a lot
That's
of
fine
complications.
though, yes.
I mean, A1's
So
messy, it fits.
I think at this
A1
point,
did discuss this earlier.
I think at this point I have to be a jerk, and I have to say that when you throw your axe this time, it does hit the light
Sticks.
sphere. It sticks,
Okay.
which means
Alright,
you're
no issue.
currently weaponless.
That's alright.
But if there's nothing else on your turn,
It's my turn, yes.
okay. 7D, what would you like to do for your turn?
Okay, so still moving, but glancing over what is the dark sphere currently doing?
It's getting ready to pounce on whoever seems to be the most vulnerable.
You should just go for it, I think. Because the light
Well, I
sphere's
mean,
been... Go for it.
what they are going to do is keep moving, but as they move, to pod, and then activate the volt, the dark sphere.
Nice.
Ah, very nice. So the pod flies over and almost slams into the dark sphere as it emits a powerfully electrically charged field. And the resulting shock does indeed prevent the dark sphere from moving, or at least makes it difficulty of 2 or higher just to move. So, what that then means is 7D, you can proceed into the reactor room without needing to do a roll.
Okay, and they will do so.
And as you get inside, you see something that makes absolutely 0 sense whatsoever. I'm going to give you a guess. What's waiting for you in the reactor room?
Something more than the reactor, I suppose.
Fair. I mean, I did sort of invite that answer. Fair. What you see is yourself. Like, flesh and
Cool.
blood, or cog and blood, however you want to flavor it. You see yourself, and they are guarding the console that powers the reactor, or controls the reactor. And as you
See
turn to
this-
yourself,
Yeah.
yourself, in a machine voice, says, "This cannot continue. This cannot continue." Because, of course, you have to get that in at some point. But I think fake 7D is going to actually come at you with an attack, because fake 7D will always move after you. So, what is your move here? An attack versus attack? Attack versus defend?
They are, for a moment, shaken, so they're just going to defend against this first attack.
Okay. And I believe that they are going to have a style advantage because of your momentary setback or sort of shakenness. And let's see. All right, they have that advantage. Your number to beat is a 7.
Let's go. And this will be a powerful defense.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, so powerful defense buckles to powerful offense. And the
Plausible for you to still make it, actually. Don't you have an extra 1d12 for defending?
This is
And
true.
you can use a drive if you want. So use your extra roll first to see if you can make it close.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay.
Oh,
that
do you
does
want to
get
try
you-
the drive for it?
Yeah, let's go, so I don't get knocked over just yet.
Yes, go for it.
All right. Need to see a success here. Just got to roll below a 9. You
Nice.
do. Congrats.
There.
So, powerful defense starts to buckle from powerful offense, but you sort of bury your heel into the ground and push back with all your might, flinging the fake you off, as it again repeats the iconic phrase that we all know and love. But that is the end of round 2. As we now re-roll initiative, and I get risk and you guys get drive. Alright, so let's see. Alright, so Dark Sphere actually finally rolled below a 10. Light Sphere is a 13. A1 is a 13, and 7D is another 6. Cool, I don't have to do anything there. I'm going to say A1, you get to go before the Light Sphere here.
Yes. So, A1 quickly vaults over to the light sphere to retrieve his axe.
Okay. And that's going to be a move quickly, and if you succeed, you will be able to get your axe back. However, the difficulty is going to be rather high. I will set the difficulty here at a 6,
Reasonable.
which you succeed quite well. So
Well, let
as
me
you...
roll the other 2d12 just to make certain.
Yeah, even better. So as you vault over the cover and quickly dart towards the light sphere, you're almost like the Flash from the DC universe, where the light sphere is just trying to keep up with you as it tracks you, and it just can't. And you get right up to it and reach up, wrench your axe free, just in time for the light sphere to turn and try and smash you with its legs.
Go
So-
for it.
The only thing I would say here is that, if I remember correctly, when you are not at range, you might have a disadvantage here. Let me just double check.
I don't believe so. Because
Okay,
the axe has a weakness to something. I believe it's powerful or something. So.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's power. Okay, so it's a powerful attack that you have a weakness to. Got it. All right, so the light sphere is going to come down with a powerfully attack. And let's see what happens.
I'll be using strategically, so that would have advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
As usual.
Well, your number to beat's a 4. I think you can do it.
Can I,
Yeah.
though? Does this beat a 4?
I think it does. I think it does. And in fact, that is a 7. No, that is even more. That is
13.
13. So that's 9 successes. So you get 4 drive back. Very nice.
Talking about. There we are, 7D.
And do you want to spend 2 of it to energy charge? So you do 2 damage?
You know it. I'll do that.
Love it. So yeah, the legs of the light sphere come crashing down, and as you dodge out of the way, you slice at the circuitry of the vulnerable underside, and the light sphere is starting to be very shaky on its feet. It's trembling, it's sparking, it's smoking. It looks like another 1 or 2 solid hits and this thing will go down.
7D, how are you doing over there?
It occupied.
Is there a hostile there?
Yes. They say very strained.
I'll slay them for you shortly. Focus on your task.
Well, speaking of focusing on your task, this time the dark sphere is going to come at you. And unlike before, it's going to do so very quickly, so you actually have type disadvantage
very nice.
here.
So you'd have an extra dice there, basically.
Correct.
Go for it.
All right, survey says 6 successes. $11, let me check. No, you did not roll 12, so yes, you can
There
indeed.
we are.
All right, so you can indeed attack the dark sphere again. Do you want it to be an energy charged attack?
Yes, you know it, of course.
All right. So as it comes slashing down with its 2 front legs, you parry it with your axe, forcing the blades to the side. And as they screech and carve furrows into the metal surface of the ground, it is somewhat dismayed. It lets out almost like a shrill whistling sound as we turn our attention to 7D fighting herself. Or their self, sorry.
One.
No, we
See,
did
they-
talk about it. Go for it. We did
Yes,
talk
they
about it. We
look-
do believe 70's pronouns are her.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Wanted to be safe.
Yeah, I'm.
Being safe.
Either one is fine, but 7D looks directly at this copy and just, well, it can't glare. Obviously, it can't see it that's glaring, but imagine a glare.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't know what you are, but you need to move, and they're going to attack
Alrighty.
powerfully.
And I think they're going to defend powerfully. So survey says number to beat here is a 6.
Nice. That's a critical failure too. Nice.
So yeah, if you beat it, it also suffers a complication,
Oh.
which you do.
Nice.
Nice. So yeah, what critical injury do you want to inflict on yourself?
We'll see. Typically, the pole axe is a two-handed type weapon, not really using hands, but actually go for a leg.
Okay. So almost comically like Monty Python and the Holy Grail's Black Knight, you just lash out with your weapon and the leg goes free. And the other you is standing on one leg, so sort of looks down at it and goes, That was my favorite leg. What? This cannot continue. And then it on its turn is going to attempt to attack you back at a disadvantage. Oh. It's just a flesh wound. Yeah, somebody got it. Alright, so survey says 7 successes is the number to beat here.
Okay, well, I'm just going to attack back.
Oh, are you capable of it? Let's see.
I believe.
Let's find out.
let's believe you do have a drive here. So just if it's close,
Ew.
Ooh,
Ain't close.
came close, but
Not
not
close.
quite close enough.
It ain't close, bud.
So I think what happens is, quite literally and metaphorically, both yourself and the fake 7D are on your last leg. Which is funny because also A1 is not looking great either.
it's all
Which-
right. A1's been at 1 HP this entire fight. Do you know how many attacks have been thrown at him?
A lot. It's actually very impressive. But by my count, we are now on round 4.
So let me. Actually, let me roll because I did take a hit. So
Oh, that's right. You could heal.
Let's go.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
Two
so
again.
Close.
So close. Alright, so 15 and a 9. Alright, so A1 goes to 17. Light Sphere gets a 15. Dark Sphere stays at 9. Just need an initiative from 7D.
15, I believe. Oh no, that's you. My bad.
Yeah, that's
a
A
7
7?
this time.
Last.
Hey, you went up a bit. Alright, A1.
So, A1 moves to not moves. A1's already halfway there because they moved to approach the light sphere to get their axe. Would you say so?
I'd say so, yeah.
So would they have a look in? Would they be able to see into the room from this distance?
You would see 7D fighting herself, yes.
Yes, yes. 70. If it's the real you, speak up.
What do you want me to say?
That's enough.
I'm the real
Okay.
one. She's the fake one.
Ah, this is why machines are so. Well, I needn't finish that. So, A1 will finish off the down 7D. Will that have advantage because her leg's off?
I'm going to say yes. That will grant you an advantage here. And it will attempt to defend, but we'll see what happens.
But strategically as usual.
Mhm.
Though I don't think that matters in this case.
Well, yeah, you got double their number of successes. And not only did you
There
do
we
that,
are. 13.
looks like you get
3 drive.
3 drive back. Yep. So, A1, you huck your axe, and it embeds itself in the fake 7D's forehead. And the 7D clone sort of jerks and spurts and then falls to the ground dead. So, fake
And-
7D
and
is
then-
down.
From the corpse, the axe is recalled back to A1's hand. Alright, take care of the rest, 7D.
Of course.
Now, it is going to be the sphere's turn, and I think because we've reached that point in the session where something dramatic has to happen, the light and dark sphere begin to orbit one another very rapidly, and with a whirring of blades and sparks and otherwise a show of machine, shall I say, resilience, the spheres join together on one side and become a combined umbral sphere.
I want
And
to
as-
point out, but go for it.
No, go ahead.
I want to point out, by the way, this is the final machine that you fight in the story of NieR Automata.
Oh yeah, and it is statted as such.
Yes,
So-
I figured.
As it lands very heavily, you can feel the vibration in the deck from its weight, and it raises one powerfully large claw and slams it down at you, A1.
Go for it.
All right, 7 successes.
Nice. You know what I'm going for. Attack strategically. Was that powerfully?
It was.
Yes, nice.
Yeah, they're just machines. They're not super bright. 13.
Go.
So you are able to smack this thing back and deal. Do you want to spend 2 for energy charge?
Yes, I will. Oh, it does. Does it have any damage left? Did it restore all of its HP?
If this was a video game, it has a new health bar.
Ah, unfortunate. I won't bother then.
Got it. All right. Which then means that A1, it is now your turn by my count. So what would you like to do, A1?
You skip my turn.
Did I? I did, sorry. So yeah,
Yeah.
7D, what would you like to do? Sorry.
Go. Set it to
yeah, no,
blow.
they are going to try and blow the core.
All right. Because it's very important for there to be dramatic tension, I need you to roll me a tinker and a skillfully, please.
Ooh.
And remember, you do have 4 drive right now, which you could use to buy additional dice.
Yes, roll that afterward though. See
Yeah,
how
I'm
you
going
do.
to see. I may need to.
Spend as much as you need, honestly.
Okay, that's 3.
Me.
Do you wish to add any?
Let's spend the. What do you think? 2 or 3? We need this to go right. Spend 3 drive.
3 drive. All right, there we are.
All right, survey says. And that is, let me check your roll. Only the 1 more success. Unfortunately, the difficulty here was a 5.
Yeah.
So I think
Do you
what
want to
happened...
go for the last one? Oh, can we do that? Is that possible?
Hey, can we?
Sure, why not? It's the end of the session. I'll let it happen.
Let's spend our last one.
Let's
Come
go.
on, come on, lucky ones. Come on, lucky ones. Snake eyes. Oh,
Nice.
6.
Which is literally the number you needed. So, 7D, as we wrap this up in a cinematic fashion, you get to the reactor controls and you begin typing in an overload sequence. And you suddenly experience a very strange set of deja vu. You've done this before. In fact, you've done all of this before. Many, many times. The bunker crash, your room, all of this has happened again and again. And right as you set the reactor to detonate, there's a blinding light that washes over the entire space. As we start our session with a view of Earth outside, the pale blue dot, as it were, with the moon in the background. And A1, you're looking out at the stars.
On the moon's surface, there is nothing but silence. A beautiful sound.
Right about then, that 7D walks up and says hello.
Yes, they walk down the hall, stop to pause and assess this person. Need to always watch out for threats, and there shouldn't be any threats at the bunker, but good to get a beat on anyone new.
And as is appropriate, the cycle continues. It continues again and again. How long? It's anyone's guess. That is going to be the end of our little one-shot game.
Hey.
All right, well done, ELH.
That was great.
Yeah, I can see I need to do some number tweaking for sure, but in general, I thought that went really well.
You genuinely want to take apart this build I just used, because I was soloing the final boss, basically.
Well, it's one of those things where, sort of as a design philosophy, I sort of have the larger bosses in mind for a party of like 4 or 5.
Yes, 4 or 5, yes.
So actually, I think...
Let's go for it.
I think you being quote-unquote overpowered actually worked out in your favor here. And
no, absolutely, because we were able to... It fit the character and we were able to do this encounter without being killed.
Exactly. There's both good and bad, or not really bad, just sort of negative or just something I have to tweak a little bit. But, I mean, in general, it sounds like you all had fun, which is what matters.
I had a great time.
Yeah, I think if you want to keep from, experiencing any numbers overload like that, then yeah, you need to tweak. But in terms of running this way, it did work for the character in this short game, so I liked it for that.
Cool. Cool.
It did make sense narratively for A1 to be able to do this because he's familiar with what this final boss is for the most part, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that is sort of the NieR twist is the GM role that I did that chat saw and you guys didn't. That was to see how far the reactor had been pushed, and that's why it overloaded in the way it did.
Okay.
But yeah,
Reasonable.
cool. All right. Well, Twitch, stick around for a little bit longer because we're gonna rate somebody. But
Absolutely.
YouTube, this is where we say goodbye. So YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. See you later.
Thank you
Bye,
so much for
YouTube.
running.
Farewell.